Here we have a Schilke 13A4. How many of you know what the 13A4 designates? I'll explain it to you. The 13 is the diameter, so the larger the number, the wider the diameter. And I was just measuring this diameter in the modular mouthpiece 5mm system. It came out to 564. The true diameter that was programmed at the lathe is bigger, although it's not real big. And let me find that again, see if I can get it. I think I had 628 earlier, so around 630. So that is the 13. And then the A, 13A, well, that A, the first one, is the cup depth, and this is shallow. So A is shallow, B would be a little deeper, C is the medium depth, so on and so forth. And then we have a 4. The 4, the last 4, is, and the reason I say the last 4 is because sometimes it would be a 14A4, and people get confused because they see two 4s. So the 13 is the diameter, A is the cup depth, the 4 is the profile of the rim. So this is a semi-flat profile. In other words, up here, it is not real round and it's not super flat either. Now, there normally is another number after that. In the Schilke line, if there is no number, then you imply the middle of the road, which would be a 3, and that would be the back bore. So if there were, I'm sorry, it wouldn't be a 3. It'd be a C. So if there were a 13A4A, then it would be a very tight back bore. This is supposed to be their medium back bore. Let's measure it and see what it is. Okay, 330. And I would say that, I don't know if that's medium, but maybe medium small in the range of all mouthpieces. But regardless, that is the length. I'm sorry, the diameter, and the length is very long, 3.5. Now, Schilke mouthpieces tend to have less of the shank go into your receiver, so they tend to, or I'm saying more of the shank go into the receiver, so they tend to go in further and seat further down inside your receiver. They actually bottom out on a lot of horns, but they fit the Schilke receiver just fine, so that's the purpose. The idea is you'd use a Schilke mouthpiece on a Schilke trumpet. And we're going to measure the throat size. I've got the gauge pin that did fit. Looks like it was, yep, very tight fit. 1.4, what does it say? 144. All right, so that's a pretty small throat. Now the 13A4A is similar to the 14A4A and a lot of other 4As. This being the 13A4 is slightly different. So that variation means that the throat should be the same size, but the back bore is a little bigger on this. And you can hear it at some point if you compare the two. I'll probably do a comparison among all the lead mouthpieces I have in Schilke at some point. But in general, there isn't that much difference between the two. It's just you'll get less of the upper overtones with this setup because of the slightly larger back bore. But it is by no means a large back bore. And remember I was saying it sometimes bottoms out? It just bottomed out on my horn. Meaning it's not going to fit all the way in there. So I'm going to take the receiver off my horn, pull the insert out, and I can put a different insert in there that would then allow that to fit. And that's because on Harrelson trumpets, we have the Venturi gap receiver. It's designed so that we can set the gap with any mouthpiece. So now I've got the mouthpiece fit in the receiver. All right, so it is a little bit of a screamer piece. It does sound good in all registers. The semi-flat rim feels very comfortable. Let's see how much flexibility I have. And that's what I expected. That semi-flat rim is gripping my lips so much that it's harder for me to slide up and down. And that's because the surface area is just holding my lips. When I'm playing, I'm moving my lips in and out, changing the aperture size like this. And the mouthpiece has so much surface area that it's gripping my lips, preventing them from moving. So I have to find a way around that. And most players that are using this particular style of mouthpiece with a really flat rim typically are not doing very flexible playing. Instead, they're just playing in the upper register. So for me really to have that flexibility, I have to almost pull it away from my lips. Now, one thing I'll mention about this mouthpiece is that it tends to sound almost raspy to me. And I think it's because it's so shallow that there isn't enough room in there to create a nice big amplitude with my lips and with the sound wave. So it's almost like I'm getting distortion when I'm trying to have that big amplitude. And that's because my lips will hit the bottom of the cup. So, is this a good lead mouthpiece? Most likely. Is it good for dipping down into the staff or the lower register? Probably not. So it's a specialized mouthpiece. I tend not to play on really specialized mouthpieces because I want to do all things. But if you're really playing just lead, this might be the mouthpiece for you. And it does pop out notes just in the upper register very easily. So there you have the Schilke 13A4A. I want to remind everybody that if you want to win a custom 5mm modular mouthpiece, just enter the Trumpet Challenge, which is one of the YouTube links. And we do a contest every week. If you can show us why you're a champion, then you'll win a custom mouthpiece. And we could set it up to be this configuration or really any configuration.